your car is rotting alive and you are paying for it twice. First when the rust starts, then when the dealer hands you a $2,000 bill for damage a $20 bottle would have stopped permanently. Right now inside hollow steel frame rails and behind plastic liners you have never touched. Corrosion is consuming everything you paid for, and the rust you can see on the surface is the smallest part of the nightmare. Japanese drivers cracked this code 30 years ago, and their cars still run today on original panels through salt air winters that would destroy your truck in 2 seasons. 7 tricks, 1 video, and by number 1 you will never look at your undercarriage the same way again. Number 7 costs nothing but a toothpick and 5 minutes, yet skipping it hands the dealer a $3,000 repair check you wrote yourself without realizing it. Every car door is engineered to let water in through the window seals, and tiny drain holes stamped into the bottom edge of each door are your only defense against that trapped water sitting against internal steel and rotting the structure invisibly from the inside out. Road dust and tree sap plug those holes solid. Over a few years, your door fills with inches of stagnant corrosive water, and by the time paint bubbles appear on the outside, the entire bottom structure is already gone, and you are reading a repair bill, not a warning sign. Get on the ground right now and push a toothpick into each tiny rectangular slot at the bottom edge of every door, because drivers doing this for the first time have watched a full gallon of black filthy water pour out of a single door in under 10 seconds. Free prevention today or a 4-figure nightmare tomorrow, and rust does not negotiate the timeline with you. Number 6 is a trap. Your own tires have been loading with rot material on every single rainy drive without you knowing the cavity existed. The black plastic wheel arch liner behind each front fender creates a hidden void that your tires blast with high-pressure spray every time you drive through rain, packing it with dirt, dead leaves, and road salt that builds into a soaking wet compost pile pressed directly against the raw steel of your fender and rocker panel year after year. That cavity never sees sunlight, never dries out, and holds corrosive moisture against your metal around the clock. Which is exactly why so many cars develop massive rust holes at the bottom of the front fenders, while the rest of the body looks completely untouched and confuses every owner who thought they were being careful. Once a year, remove the 2 plastic clips at the liner base, pull it back, and blast the packed debris out with a garden hose before it finishes a job that costs $800 to $1,500 to repair. 10 minutes once a year is the full price of this prevention, and the alternative is a repair bill arriving like a punishment for a crime you never knew you were committing. Number 5 is a $20 bottle that permanently solves what a $2,000 dealer treatment only pretends to fix, and the gap between those 2 prices is not chemistry. It is profit built entirely on your unawareness. Painting over rust is the most common and most costly mistake because it seals oxygen and moisture directly against active iron oxide, turns your frame into a hidden corrosion reactor, and gives you a false sense of security while the damage compounds underneath the fresh paint. Phosphoric acid rust converter brushed directly onto red rust causes an immediate reaction that strips oxygen from the iron oxide and converts the entire corroded surface into rock-hard jet black iron phosphate that is completely inert, cannot spread, and is permanently immune to moisture no matter what salt and winter deliver afterward. Once the surface turns fully black, you prime and paint over it knowing the rust underneath is chemically dead and will never reactivate again. Dealers charge $2,000 for inferior treatments that crack within seasons, while this $20 bottle ends the problem permanently with chemistry instead of cosmetics. Number 4 is the same science protecting multi-million-dollar cargo ship hulls compressed into a single aerosol can most drivers walk past without a second glance. Salt water hitting steel generates an electrical current that strips electrons from the iron and triggers oxidation. But zinc is far more electrochemically active than iron, and when zinc is present, the corrosive attack targets the zinc first, while your steel sits completely untouched underneath. Cold galvanizing compound is a heavy aerosol containing 93% pure zinc dust, and sprayed onto any clean exposed weld or fresh replacement component. It creates a self-sacrificing barrier that actively defends your steel rather than passively waiting to chip off. When debris scratches through and exposes bare steel, the surrounding zinc electrochemically bleeds over the damage and seals it before oxidation can begin, giving you a self-repairing coating that strengthens under attack, instead of failing the moment it takes a hit. Bare steel begins oxidizing within hours of salt exposure, so coating fresh metal once is the difference between a component lasting a decade and one seizing completely solid in 3 winters. Number 3 is the repair nobody sees coming, because the damage is completely invisible until a mechanic goes quiet on the lift and starts a sentence with the words "your frame" and ends it with a number beginning at $3,000. Modern truck frames are entirely hollow steel boxes, and through daily temperature cycling moisture condenses inside those sealed rails while road salt works through factory drain holes until the internal steel is sitting in corrosive liquid with no airflow and zero visibility for you to catch the destruction. It becomes structural and catastrophic. Internal cavity wax comes in an aerosol with a 3-foot flexible wand and a 360-degree nozzle you feed into the existing factory holes in your frame rails, coating every internal surface as you withdraw the wand, and leaving a permanent seal against the condensation and salt that have been working inside your frame since the day you drove it off the lot. $60 and one afternoon prevents a repair that starts at $3,000 and climbs past $10,000 on severe cases, and the only variable separating those two outcomes is whether you act before the damage becomes visible or after it becomes financially devastating. Number 2 never fully dries, and that single characteristic is precisely why it outperforms every other rust coating available by a distance that makes everything else look deliberately designed to fail on schedule. Rubberized undercoatings crack as they age and trap moisture against your steel in a hidden reactor you paid $800 to construct under your own vehicle. Conventional paint chips under road debris and exposes bare steel to salt within the first winter. Lanolin fluid film stays permanently wet, flows back into any scratch and self-heals within minutes of damage occurring, and uses aggressive capillary action to creep into the microscopic pinch welds and bolted seams where rust always begins before it ever reaches a surface you can see or treat. Apply it once before winter and your frame will structurally outlast the engine sitting above it, which is the documented result Japanese mechanics have been producing for 30 years, while the rest of the market kept selling coatings engineered to need replacing every single season. Number 1 is completely free, and it is the only thing on this list that makes every other trick actually work over decades instead of getting skipped during a busy week while your frame pays the price in silence. Mechanical empathy means paying attention to what your environment is doing to your vehicle instead of treating it like an appliance you ignore until the floor rots through or a brake line fails at highway speed and the repair estimate redefines financial pain in a single moment. You now know that parking a salt-covered car in a heated garage doubles the corrosion rate, that a damp smell under your seat is an AC drain tube rotting your floor pan from inside the cabin outward, and that a paint blister on your door edge is a 3-year-old structural warning you are only now reading for the first time. The cars reaching 30 years with spotless original frames are not lucky. They are owned by people who spent $20 on prevention every season instead of $4,000 on repair. And that entire gap comes down to one decision made before the rust becomes visible rather than after it becomes a disaster you cannot walk back from. If this video just saved your frame, drop a comment below telling me which trick you are doing this weekend, because I read every single one. Hit subscribe right now because this channel exists to make sure dealerships never profit from your unawareness again. And click the video on your screen right now because what it exposes will save you even more money starting today.